All right, sounds good. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 3:03 on November 19, 2020. I'll call the meeting to order. With that, we'll start with a roll call. I'll start with myself, Joe Simolis.
Ed Bailey.
Laura Francis.
Beverly, you there? Can you hear us, Beverly? I see Beverly is online. Maybe she stepped away for a second. We'll continue with members of, there you are, Beverly. All right. Moving on to item number 3, correspondence. So do we have anything for correspondence that we want to discuss? I believe we do.
We do. Let me. Oh. Okay. Is that working?
Yeah, we could see it.
You see, mine's acting weird.
Are you looking for the commissioner letter?
Yeah, let me try this again. Here we go. Now you see it?
We see the regular meeting of November 18th, the PowerPoint.
All right.
You might have to drag over the PDF to that monitor if you have dual monitors. There you go. Yep.
There we go. Yeah, too many monitors, that's the problem. So, yes,
go ahead.
The commissioner sent a letter in response to our last letter. And again, reiterates their commitment and but also mentions concerns about this special transportation fund and asks for support in trying to increase funding there. Those are the kind of key points from this letter.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board members regarding this? Again, this is in response to the letter that we had sent out with SUR in terms of looking to move the MOA forward and the restructuring of the districts. If not, let's move. Is there anything else for correspondence, Joe?
That's it. The other one we have a new business item on. So.
Okay, perfect. All right, let me pull up the agenda again. Moving on to item number 4, minutes of October 8th, 2020. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Item number 5, reports, administrator's report.
Okay, so the finance administration side, we completed our submission of the National Transit Database, the initial one. Now we will wait, and then we're going to get a bunch of questions back, which is the normal process until we get it closed out, hopefully by the end of the year. We've been just yesterday and today communicating with DOT to negotiate our funding for the next round of CARES Act funds. And so Helene and I have been putting numbers together that we'll be sending over to them either tonight or first thing tomorrow. Try and get as much as we can out of this next round. And then we finally ended up splitting out our terminal renovations from our grant application for this year. FTA wants a lot of further review before they will allow us to have a grant to proceed with terminal renovation in it. They said that when that grant was back in 2016 was submitted, they didn't do all the proper initial reviews that should have been done. And so it was holding up our whole grant application, which is holding up us from purchasing new buses and other capital items. So we finally I spoke with DOT, and they were okay with us splitting it out and doing an application for everything else. And then as we work on getting those other things done on the terminal side, once that's all finished, then we could submit that grant application. And CONDOT is supposed to be helping with that, particularly the state historical review. So we continued some more capital projects. We put up some passenger barriers in our ADA buses. ADA being the most vulnerable people generally, the people who have disabilities or elderly. So we put up a little extra measure of protection. We put it in one bus, and it was very well received. So we just got them installed this week or this week or late last week on the last few buses. I don't know how well you could see that, but there's little plexiglass barriers on top of the seats there.
Mm-hmm.
Our floor scrubber finally came in. We didn't have any of the proper equipment to clean the floors in our garages. So now we're able to clean them every day. It takes about 15, 20 minutes now to do them. They were having to mop them by hand before. And so it was getting done like once a week, and it was taking a really long time when it was done. So now every day our service person hops on, does the floors, and they're kept nice and clean. Keeps it, it's also a big safety issue because there's always fluids on that floor in the storage area, and there's tripping hazards. So, and we finally found somebody who supposedly can work on our bus wash, and they're supposed to be calling us. We're on their schedule, and they'll be calling us soon. It has been quite an effort to find somebody, and we're hopeful that these people really can fix it. On the maintenance side, I had interviews with 4 candidates for the maintenance manager position. We had a lot more than that, but 5 actually had specific transit maintenance manager experience, which was excellent. I was very surprised at the number we had that had that kind of background. And we're just waiting on DOT to give me final approval before we could extend an offer of employment. We had GFI come on site last week. They were here all week long. GFI is the manufacturer of our fare boxes. And they came and they repaired every single fare box in the fleet and the vault that we have for the fare boxes. Almost not, Derek could tell you the exact number, pretty much, I think there was maybe 2 or 3 fare boxes that were working before. Now they are all working, and so now we just got to keep up on them. And the great news was I was able to get CONDOT to let us pay it out of our capital funds so that we won't eat into our operating expenses, because it was between parts and their labor, it was about $40,000 to get them all fixed. So it's very expensive. These things are brand new. Fare boxes are now running about $20,000 to $22,000 a piece. So they're really expensive pieces of equipment, and they're pretty expensive to maintain. We finally got the bus that S-Joy provided registered. It was a very long process because of DOT had been closed, and then they lost all of our paperwork. And so anyway, we finally got that in the mail this week, and we're supposed to be receiving 2 20-passenger buses from the Northwest Connecticut Transit District that still have about 2 years of useful life left on them in the next month. They just finally yesterday, DOT contacted me about getting that MOA done so we could get them transferred. And that's the end of my report. Next will be operations.
Yep. When do we go to operations report?
So the terminal is reopened for ticket sales only. It's roped off, as we showed you last month, so they can only go to the window. We opened it up on the 26th of October, and it seems to be going quite well. People are receptive to it. We resumed collecting fares on the 2nd of November. Now that all the fare boxes are working, we'll have true data hopefully going forward after this week. We ordered it to distribute turkey gift certificates to our employees for the holiday. As of December 1st, we are going to make the terminal smoke-free. Smoking there has always been a challenge, so we're getting some signage. We're starting to make announcements to let people know on the bus. I'm sure we're going to get a little pushback, but better than what we're going through now. We have some new training coming up for all the drivers, some more passenger customer service training that'll be done on a Sunday. The supervisors have completed the road supervisor course. Marcos, our supervisor, has been certified to teach the Smith system. And he's been working with everybody teaching problem passengers. And mentioned the customer service. Next, Joe. These are the ridership numbers. As you can see, it's, you know, not down that much from last year. So everything is pretty much starting to pick back up ridership wise. See how that is moving forward with everything.
Okay. Any questions regarding the operations report? All right, seeing none, let's go to finance report.
Cash flow?
Yeah, I'm opening it.
Okay.
Just a minute for that.
Okay.
Okay, I
Okay.
can see that.
Just a little bit, yeah. Oh, yeah, great, good. As you can tell, our cash flow, we have a little concern, but are we still okay? As you can see on the bottom, we have to dip in our line of credit for $175,000. On the other hand, with the DOT on us over $500,000 right now, I billed them for the second quarter, and if you can tell, they still on us for first quarter for ADA, $54,000. When you look at the first column, they want us $3,000 for the, actually they're 54 and 18 for ADA for first quarter. And the second quarter, I billed them for whole second quarter for $456. They haven't paid us. So we've been on the phone with them. I email my people, Joe talked to higher ups, and I don't know what the latest one, but we were forced to borrow from line of credit. So hopefully that will, if they don't pay us, then we will have to go back and borrow it, and hopefully we receive the money. We already actually draw some money from our CARE Act, $75,000, which will help us with cash flow as well. So that's the only concern here. We will continue working and make sure we receive the money from DOT. I don't know why they're so slow, because I just received it today. I billed them like a week ago. I actually went ahead and billed them for Middletown before I billed for Estuary, because I know you guys need money. Your cash flow is our cash flow much better shape. So I billed them, and I bill ETD, and I already received ETD money. So I don't know what is going on. So Joe got to call them, and hopefully that will be solved. Okay. On the other hand, our budget was actually, it's fine. We write in the budget. There's no concern. So, and on every single one of our grant, and the total looks good. We should be 25 on the total. We actually 21. So we're okay. So there's no concern about it. And the last one, is there any questions? Okay. The last one is that I just want to show you the comparison chart from last year, because this from July to October on the fair collection, and you can tell this year and last year we down only for first 4 months, we down $98,000 from previous year, And that's why having a CARE Act money will help us to go through it. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions regarding the finance report? All right, moving on. Why don't we go to MOA Committee Report?
So,
You want me to do,
Laura,
you
do you
want me to
wanna?
do, you want me to do
Yeah,
that,
I'll let
Joe?
you do that. I put some bullets up there, but I'll let you do that.
Yeah, so we had, 2 meetings. The last one was, actually the most productive because the last one, we, set the stage on how we're going to operate. We're going to start meeting bi-weekly until the MOA is completed. The initial consultant, as you know, that we tried to hire was not accepted by DOT. So we do have a person who is going to help us. I don't know why I can't remember his name.
Dave Lee.
Dave Lee. Dave Lee from First Transit. Sorry, Dave. And the good news about that is that we will be able to fund his assistance through our contracts that we both have, both MAT and estuary. So that's a plus to our budget. He is going to provide us with some sample MOAs to review as a starting point. He's also going to prepare an outline of the activities needed and a timeline to keep us on track. We have set our own schedule date for completion as March 30. And the MOA committees of each board will meet separately in the next few weeks so that we can discuss what items we want included in the MOA. And what we are asking each other to do is to prioritize the items that we want in the MOA so that we can be honest and open with each other. What are the things that we will go to the mat for? What are the things that will act as deal breakers if we can't get included in the MOA? We want to be as open and honest as we can so that we don't waste each other's time. Can I share my screen? Can you make me a co-host?
Yeah. Let me. All right.
Susan Tyler from Estuary is my co-chair. And she has agreed to keep us on track so that we
Should be able to.
Yep. Bear with me 1 minute, guys. Show all windows. I guess I got too many windows open. Here it is. So I won't go by line on this, but you can see that we have a lot of structure to the way we're going to operate. We have clear roles and responsibility for the consultant and staff for each of the districts, what DOT is responsible for, and what our respective council attorneys will need to provide. We have set forth a series of ground rules on how we're going to operate. We're considering the general outline of the MOA, and maybe this I should spend some time on just to give you an idea of where we're heading. We are going to discuss finance and how our fund balances and local funding will enter into this. Governance, bylaws and the board structure and membership of the new board. Because remember, if we achieve this merger, we will be creating a new governance structure. Operations, which will include staffing and services. Facilities and the maintenance and renovation and land acquisition of facilities. Labor, contracts, and how the two staffs will be assimilated. And then any other merger related goals and objectives. So that's kind of everything. And Joe, I think it would be good if you would share this document with the entire board so that they can refer to it as we report out each month.
Has anyone not received it? I think everyone should have. I can send it out again, just to make
Okay.
sure you all have it, but.
Yeah, got it here.
All right, very good.
And just remember too, that I need everyone's availability for that meeting of just the MOA committee for the week after Thanksgiving. We're trying to do it early in that week so that we have met before the next joint committee meeting, which is December 4th.
Well, I just want to thank everyone who's been working on it, specifically Laura. I really appreciate your hard work in representing Middletown Area Transit's, perspective and thoughts on the consolidation effort. So thank you again for the time that you're committing to it. And I know it's been frustrating over the last few months on some level, but from what I saw at the last MOA joint meeting, it seems like we're on the right path moving forward. So thank you again. With that, any questions? If not, we'll move on to new business. Item A, finance cost sharing.
All right. You seeing my screen again?
Yes.
Okay. So I sent out this document. I don't know if everyone had a chance to read it. Can I open it? But Joe, you had the conversation with Leslie. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah,
explain.
so it's pretty straightforward. And I was naive, and I'll be the first to admit, I was unaware that the work that Helena was doing on behalf of Middletown Area Transit, was not actually, I guess, paid for out of First Transit. It was actually being paid for out of Estuary's budget. And she's been doing fantastic work for the district in this interim time between directors and what the district needs to achieve long term. But Estuary has been compensating her at full value when she's been splitting her time or using a portion of her time on Middletown Area Transit finances. So Leslie Strauss, the executive or the chairman of their board, had asked for us to consider paying for her time working on Middletown Area Transit things, which personally I have no objection to. She's been doing a fantastic job on behalf of Middletown Area Transit, and we're grateful for that. But that being said, that they want it to be retroactive, which again, I have no issue with because she was working on behalf of Middletown Area Transit. And so they calculated it out in terms of her salary as well as her time. And they've come up with a total reimbursement of $34,500 and then a monthly request of $3,800. for reimbursements of her services. So obviously, I don't believe I have the authority to go ahead and say yes. So that is why we have it in front of the board this afternoon for discussion and hopefully approval. Is there anyone that has any questions?
No, just a comment. I just assumed that we were paying her as we were going along. So this is a little bit of a surprise, but I have no objection to this. And Joe, I suppose you can vouch for the accuracy of the letter from Leslie as far as the dollar amounts.
Yeah, so, yep, the numbers, the total numbers came from Helena. So Helena did the calculations of, her total cost. And then it was the board, though, came up to 25%. So that is, yeah, the numbers all look accurate, right, Helena?
Yes.
And just again, I want to thank you, Helena, for all the work that you've been doing on behalf of the district. It's very clean. It's very concise. It's I think significantly different compared to what the district had seen years ago. So again, thank you for your efforts here with our district.
Thank you. I try to do my best. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
So the going forward would be 3,800. Is that hourly or just monthly?
Monthly.
Monthly. Okay.
That's what they're asking for, 300 monthly.
So 300 hourly. I want that job. Anyways, any other questions? And I suppose, why don't we make a motion? Is there someone that would like?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, Joe, that we compensate Estuary Transit District in the amount of, reimburse them in the amount of $34,500 for services rendered between December 2019 and October 2020. And then going forward, we agree to reimburse $3,800 per month for Helena's services.
Second to that?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion on the motion.
And what line item would this come out of?
So it gets split between all the grants if there's room. If not, we'll use our federal CARES funding that we have. Probably will do that for the stuff that's last fiscal year. Just it's easier than trying to change everything now, and we already pretty much maxed everything out last year, so we'll take that out of CARES. And so, yeah, it will be like an admin expense that gets spread over fixed route, Dial-A-Ride, ADA, and the rural programs.
Okay. Okay.
Any other discussion?
So Joe, you're saying that we currently had nothing budgeted for finance?
No, we do. So yes, we do. But it's just our bookkeeper, our part-time bookkeeper. And so there should be, when I say we maxed out our grants, we maxed out all the state money. We'd had lots of local money left last year, but we don't want to use that. We want to build up our general fund balance first. And, we have this CARES money that we do want to get spent because it does, even though it supposedly has no time limit, it will. We're already getting pressured by CONDOT to spend money, and the feds want to see this money gone. That's why it was given to us. So I'd rather right now, while we have this federal money, I'm going to hit that first so that, we have that much more going into our fund balance to build us up to a good amount so we don't have these cash flow issues that Helena went through today. You know,
Yeah.
I want to get us to the point where we have a really strong, at least like, we always try at Estuary, have about 2 to 3 months of our monthly expenses in our fund balance, just because we have so much stuff that is reimbursement basis. So we got to front a lot of money
Right.
and then wait to get reimbursed. So, you know, that puts us like in the 15 to 20% range, and today we're nowhere near that. So yeah, right now Helena and I tried to do everything other than local first, unless we have a local match requirement.
And I just have one other question. We don't have any other contractors working on behalf of Middletown Air Transit that are being paid out of estuary funding, correct?
No. No, we have one other employee that we're sharing, but you guys pay that directly for hours. That's the ADA coordinator who's doing all your ADA stuff.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, matter passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, administrative employee compensation.
Let me switch back over here. Okay, so the time of year that we normally would do our administrative employee salary increases, we generally have done them back to the first payroll in July, which would be July 5th. And what we've kind of put together, as you can see here, it's for a total of, it works out to 3.5%. And that's because of particularly 2 employees, one being our bookkeeper. She's taking on a lot more responsibility, even though Helena's helping her. Helena's been training her a lot to take on more things. And she's doing a good job with that. And so we want to give her slightly more. And then, of course, Garrett, our operations manager, who's also taking on a lot of new things. And so the total works out to be a total cost of right about just under $12,250 for a full year. And you know, again, this year we did not get an increase from CONDOT, but again, that's where the kind of our CARES funding comes in. Certainly with COVID going on and all that our employees have done during COVID and worked through, well, what prior was the worst of it, and now we're going into another worst of it. It's not a good year to not be giving any increases, because, you know, our employees here have worked really hard. Drivers automatically have them because of our labor contract. You know, they're going to get an increase on January 1 and next July 1 too. So, you know, we want to make sure our administrative employees aren't left out.
So is this contractual?
No, it's not. Our administrative employees, this is grouping in all the non-bargained employees.
Joe, what's the increases for the union employees, percentage-wise?
The union employees it's more than this. Let's see. Annualized is 5%, but we're doing it in 2 increments for them. You know, they're getting one on just January 1, one on July 1.
And that's because we're still playing a little bit of catch up, right? That Lisa kind of put us on.
Yeah, we are still. So we are now starting drivers at $15 an hour. For a CDL driver, that is low.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we agreed to a bigger increase, is because our drivers are not, you know, our driver rates are not very competitive. So
Compared to
trying
estuary.
get them compared to anyway, unfortunately. But we got a lot closer with this contract. Before this contract, we were starting at 13. So
Yeah.
We moved it up a lot, and by the end of the contract, our drivers will be doing a lot better. So, but Estuary was the same way several years ago. We kind of went through the same thing where we've been working it took us many years to get us up to a reasonable rate. And so we'll do the same thing here, just like Lisa had started, and we're going to continue that. But that's why they're going to be a higher percentage for a while, because they're starting so low.
And where are we in comparison to Estuary on our administrative employees?
Your administrative employees are very close. I mean, your dispatchers are very close, within probably 50 cents or so, maybe $1. But where there's differences, it's a lot of it could be that our Estuary employees are longer tenured. Both your dispatchers are just over a year, and operations managers are very close. Everybody's really close except the drivers.
Do you believe this is fair compensation for the increase?
I think I think even with them, it'd be good to keep us. I mean, another reason we don't want to miss a year is because, when you look at other transit systems, we're still not very high. We're not high at all. So, we'd certainly love to give more. The only thing we got to consider is that one day the CARES money runs out, and we know that this year and next year, CONDOT's telling us be prepared for flat budgets. So, it's we do have a lot of CARES money, but I just always, worry when that runs out and the state money is not kept up. Where are we? And the hope is to, part of our whole the whole study and the merger is getting the pay rates up too. That's all in there too, and those are all calculated in our requests, and we'll be going into the MOA. That's one of the items is what's the funding, the operating funds needed to make this happen.
And what's the percentage of the CARES Act we spent so far?
How much have we used?
Yes.
Helena, with what we just drew, what are we still at?
We drew 140,000 so far.
140 out of 1.2 million.
Oh.
And all of pretty much everything we've drawn thus so far, so that's about 12%. Everything we've drawn so far has been really just making up for the fare revenue lost. And now we're collecting fares again, so hopefully we'll have less losses, but we still have we just have a lot of COVID-related expenses. The security guard is one of the biggest ones, but really helping keep things, keep the terminal safe. But many others that we're going to be trying to move on to there, and again, especially this next wave happens. One of the things we're preparing for is more call-outs. The last time it was a bit easier. This time I think it's going to be a lot harder. And this is something I just heard being discussed on the radio the other day about with the hospitals, and the hospitals were saying how back in March and April, when they had a surge of patients, they had canceled all your elective surgeries and everything, so it was really mostly just emergency and COVID patients. This time around, they're having elective surgeries and all those things, and so it's been much bigger strain on them. I think we're going to see the same type of thing. Last time the state was closed, ridership was down dramatically, more than half, and on Dollar and ADA, it was down 80%, 90% some days. So we didn't need as many drivers. And so when we were short for a day, we just could take somebody off a Dollar. Our Dollar and ADA were also extra boards where we could move people off of it and it was fine because there were so few people making reservations. I don't think that's going to happen this time. State's not planning on closing. People have, either are working again, or people are working now, going out shopping and doing things they need to do. And like everything else, we've gotten used to this new normal and we're more complacent. And even people who were scared to go out back in March and April, many of them are going out now. So it's going to be harder if we're short people than it was last time. And so, long way to say, we're preparing by making sure we have our extra board full. We have kept one position open for a while because we didn't really need it because of all the ADA drivers we had available. Well, now they're not available anymore. So we're trying to get that filled. So that's a cost we're going to put on COVID. So there's going to be things like that on the CARES money as this continues for the foreseeable future until probably at least the end of 2021.
So do you need a motion to accept the administrative employee compensation rates?
Yes, we
So
do.
moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? I would like to just say again, during COVID, the district employees all did an amazing job. A lot of them were out when people were, home or businesses were closed or, but they were out every day still servicing the most needy. So again, and I'm sure everyone on the board feels the same way. They've been doing a great job during this crisis, and just ask them to keep it up. And if this is the bare minimum we could do at this point in time, maybe we could revisit down the road. But I think this is great. So I'm in favor of moving it forward. So with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Moving on, old business, regional bus study.
So we received the final draft of the service recommendations. We had a meeting on them, kind of gave us our final comments, and they also gave me kind of all the details of their calculations that I'm reviewing, and hope to have the comments tomorrow. It's been a very busy 2 weeks, and so I'm hoping to have those comments tomorrow, and we expect there should be a final report probably within the next week's Thanksgiving. So probably early December we should have the final report done, and then I'll be sending it out to everyone. But I think it's a really good final service recommendations report. Some really good suggestions in there. And then once we get that report done, we can start discussing, the ones, talk about implementing some, particularly, many of them have no cost to them. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be, it's a really exciting time. I think there's some really good ideas in there.
Right.
Biggest thing is, as we've kind of talked about, straightening out the routes so we don't have these circles. The one negative is to do it, you have to go to 1 hour times. But when we asked people, they definitely did indicate that they wanted the shorter trip times and 1 hour frequency rather than longer trip times with the circle and 50 minutes. So, we still have, and whatever we decide to do, we'll still have to do another public comment period. So we'll still have the opportunity for more public comment on whatever ones we decide to implement. But it's also going to give us a package of, of future changes too. The ones that cost money, we'll be able to start working on how do we fund these and, kind of have goals for the future of how we improve service going forward. And the trolley's in there. So another good recommendation in there. And lots of, some microtransit options, so.
Any questions for Joe on that? Okay, moving on to COVID-19 update.
Yeah, so some of the, we mentioned some of the things already kind of on the capital side, but we also had another statewide mask giveaway on this past Monday. So we gave away masking at the terminal, and now that we have looks like some very viable vaccine candidates, FTA, which is the Federal Transit Administration, and the state actually too, that the state group that's planning vaccinations have been in touch with the transit operators. State, we had a meeting this week where we learned about their efforts, and they are prioritizing workers in the infrastructure, transportation infrastructure. But then also FTA contacted me and asked for our employee count for their planning of vaccination. So we are in the list of high priority workers to get vaccinated. So I think that will really make our employees happy to know that they're kind of up there in those lists and making sure that there are some amongst the early ones to be offered vaccines to keep them safe. And that's everything else is pretty much the new normal, and continuing on. And one thing Jared mentioned was the terminal opening. We were a little concerned about having it reopened again, and what might happen there. But even with some of the cold days, it's been fine. We've had no issues in the terminal. And a lot of that is thanks to having the security guard here. He's really good with the people here. He's very, we have very, very few problems now at the terminal, where I know Beverly knows firsthand that the terminal used to be a interesting place at times. It's gotten quite boring now, which is a good thing. Good thing for our employees and Beverly knows well. but it is. It's very quiet here now, and like I said, that's not because there's not people passing through. There's still plenty of people, but we don't have the excitement and the police called all the time like we used to have.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's good. That's really good. That's a big difference.
Jared, do you even know the last time the police were here? It's been a long time. I think he's on mute. It's been a very long time.
They were actually here a couple weeks ago, but it wasn't for us. They were looking for someone. So
last time we called the police. Last time we called the police has been a while.
Probably a couple months.
Yeah.
About that overnight thing was the last thing.
That's right. And how often did it used to be?
It used to be twice a week, at least.
Yeah. So, and that's pretty much all on the COVID update.
Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, executive session, negotiation of contract with Connecticut DOT.
I don't think, unless anyone wants, any more details, I think we've pretty much covered everything and don't need an executive session today.
Perfect. The next meeting, go ahead.
One thing. So I understand we're not going to move forward with the trolley initiative because of the situation emerging or that's here with COVID. Joe, can you send me something that formalizes that so I can send to my EDC?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Or I thought Joe Comfort, but you either one of the Joes.
Okay.
Just so that we can, make that affirmative.
Yeah, I mean, if people want to still give it a shot, I'm open to it. I do know that the more as the days go by, we have people that are testing positive and in quarantine. And our DBD director, I don't know if you know Laura, she tested positive for it, so she's in quarantine. So maybe the three of us or four of us, Ed, Laura, myself, and Joe Comerford, we can see if it makes sense to continue or, see about doing it now, or do we wait until spring? I mean, things are getting sticky here in Middletown, unfortunately, so
Yeah,
but we could definitely discuss if you want.
okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep.
All right, our next meeting is December 10th at 3 p.m. Other than that, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
excellent. I hope everyone has a good holiday.
Happy
And,
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy and healthy Thanksgiving.
That's
Yeah,
right.
safe too.
Right.
Thank
And
you.
we'll touch